You are the column of everything, but no one realized. Have you ever seen a rope being stretched to its limit? It holds everything. The weight, the pressure, the tension. It supports the system, but no one thanks the rope. They only realize when it breaks. That was you. Do you know what happens when someone notices you stopped bowing? When do you finally decide to no longer conform to the molds that have always placed you in? They don't applaud you. They accuse you. But the question is, why do so many people get upset when you simply decide to be true to yourself? The answer is simple: because your power exposes their weakness. Today, you are not just changing, you are awakening. And this awakening does not come in silence. It comes with cuts, distances, and discomfort. But it also comes with freedom. You were the facilitator, the one who always said yes, even though her soul was screaming no. The one who put everyone first, hoping that at some point, someone would do the same for you. But that never happened. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because you taught people to get used to a version of you that always dimmed itself to shine a light on others. This attitude often starts early. Since they are children, especially women, they learn that being kind is more important than being truthful. We grow up hearing that good girls don't say no, that you shouldn't be upset to avoid causing conflicts. And with that, we hide our essence to fit in with what is expected of us. And this silent programming shapes behaviors until the day the soul screams louder than fear. And this is where everything starts to change. Be part of our spiritual family. Subscribe to the channel today and comment, "I believe" below as a symbol that you accept your role in this great transition. Let your energy be counted among the chosen. The time is now. You realize that you spent your entire life explaining yourself to people who never wanted to understand you. He spoke gently, went around and around, softened truths, like someone walking on broken glass just to keep the peace. But deep down, you always knew something was wrong. The effort was all yours. The wear and tear was yours. The fault too. And even so, the demands didn't stop. The criticism continued. The demand for perfection was constant, but the recognition, that one never came. He arrives. It's no longer about pleasing. It's about existing. Entire. No filters. Without lowering your head. And no, that's not arrogance. This is self-awareness. You were not made to be anyone's emotional convenience. And yes, you have changed. Because now you understand that your energy is too precious to be wasted on those who only show up when they need to suck up a little more. People who benefited from your docility will say that you are different, that you are cold, that it is difficult. But you're not difficult. You're just tired of making it easy. According to a recent survey by Institute for the Study of Emotional Intelligence, 64% of people who developed emotional exhaustion in family and emotional relationships reported that the main factor was the constant need for validation and the lack of reciprocity. This shows that the problem was never you. It was the environment. It was the unbalanced relationships that you agreed to maintain, even when everything in you screamed for enough. Now, you're not just putting up limits. You are building sacred walls. Because anyone who doesn't respect your presence doesn't deserve your access. Those who do not value their dedication can no longer reap the fruits of it. And if that makes you seem distant, so be it. Distant, but at peace. Distant, but whole. Your voice, which used to tremble for fear of displeasing, now echoes firmly. And even if you choose silence, it speaks for you. A silence that is not absence. It is full presence. He says, "I don't need to explain anymore." He says, "I'm not here to convince, I'm here to be." And that in itself scares a lot of people. They don't fear you for what you say, but for what you represent. A woman who has learned to choose herself. And when that happens, there is no turning back. You have passed through an inner portal, a point of no return. From here on, you don't beg. You don't beg for attention. You don't justify each step. You walk. Firm. And whoever wants to accompany you must come with respect. This is not just a new phase. It is your rebirth. And he comes with an attitude that finally matches who you've become. Someone who no longer asks for permission to exist. Get ready, because this change will alienate many people. But it will also attract everything that is true. And that, yes, is your new frequency. Your journey is just beginning. It's time to regain your strength and build a new path. Subscribe to the channel and be part of this community that is awakening to the truth. You were not born to bend yourself. Enough of pleasing. Do you remember the first time you said no and felt guilty? Maybe it was when you decided not to go somewhere just to please someone. Or when you finally chose to put yourself first even though you knew it would displease you. What you may not have known at the time was that it wasn't selfish. It was the beginning of his liberation. For years, we have been taught to shape ourselves, giving in, smiling even when something bothered me, automatically saying yes because no seemed too rude. This silent emotional programming is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of a culture that, for centuries, has valued female obedience more than authenticity. In 2022, a survey carried out by University of Brasilia revealed that around 78% of women interviewed stated that they avoid saying what they really think, so as not to be seen as difficult or complicated. This is not about politeness or respect. It's about conditioning. An inherited emotional system that teaches that the ideal woman is one who does not confront, who does not impose limits, and who is always available. But there is a problem. This ideal woman does not exist. What's more, trying to be this artificial version comes at a huge price. You start to disconnect from who you really are. It loses its shine. Self-esteem is conditioned on external approval. And when she realizes, she's living to be loved, not to be free. For a long time you believed that saying yes was a sign of generosity. But what you called generosity was actually a constant erasure of your will. You donated time, attention, energy, presence. He molded himself to other people's routines, their rhythm, their desires. And the return? It was a charge. It was critical. It was more demanding. But it wasn't your fault. Since ancient times, especially in rigid family structures, it was common for women to assume the role of emotional caregivers, always available, conciliatory, smiling. This pattern has crossed generations and has infiltrated modern discourse with phrases such as "she is very nice" or "she always helps everyone." And yes, helping is beautiful, but not at the expense of herself. Psychologist and researcher Brené Brown, in her study published in 2019 in the Journal of Counseling Psychology, concluded that people who try to please all the time tend to develop a greater propensity to anxiety, identity crises, and chronic emotional fatigue. The body feels, the soul screams, but we ignore it until we can't anymore. You are no longer in that place. Something inside you broke, and this break was necessary, because pleasing everyone is the quickest way to losing yourself. From the moment you started saying no, the game changed. The energy has changed. Those who benefited from its availability moved away, and curiously, they started accusing you of having changed. But what changed was not its essence. What changed was the permission you gave it to be used. Do you know why? Because anyone who only likes you when you are available 100% of the time has never really liked you. They liked the easy access of your silence, from your fear of displeasing. But their new stance took that away from them, and that's where the mask falls. You've spent your life trying to be the nice one, the good friend, the understanding partner. But you noticed that no one asked if you were okay. No one asked if you needed a lap too. That's because you've trained people to see you as an inexhaustible source, not as a human being. Now you have cut this cycle. You are no longer willing to be the support of someone who was never by your side when you needed it. You will no longer remain silent to maintain the harmony of others while you experience your own internal chaos. And yes, this will bother you. But it's not your problem. It's a reflection of other people's insecurity in the face of your courage to prioritize yourself. Today you say no with serenity. You firmly refuse. You remove yourself from environments that demand more than they offer. And that's not toughness, it's self-love. You stop trying to fit in where you were never welcomed. He learned that pleasing is different from respecting, and that respect starts with yourself. Every no you say is a yes to your peace, your health, your sanity. And if that scares or disappoints someone, that's okay. Anyone who is hurt by their limits was already feeding on their lack of borders. This is not a rebellious phase. It's your cure. It's the moment when you collect all the pieces of yourself that were undeservedly given away and return them to the place they should never have left. You. Because in the end, pleasing the world was never worth the price of losing yourself. It's time to regain your strength and build a new path. If this video is making sense to you, don't stop here. Click sign up now and discover the next step towards your transformation. You don't need to be applauded to know you shine for a long time. You confused applause with affection. She thought that being recognized by others was synonymous with self-worth. If someone praised you, you felt alive. If no one noticed, something in you would go away. This dynamic wasn't about self-esteem. It was about emotional dependence disguised as humility. But the real question is, how long will your happiness depend on the reaction of others? The desire for social approval is natural. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek acceptance. First from our parents, then from school, then from our group of friends, then from society as a whole. For each achievement, a compliment. For every error, a criticism. And in this process, we forget to look at ourselves with our own eyes. But there comes a time when you understand. If you don't validate yourself, no external praise will fill the internal void. And this understanding is not easy, because external validation is addictive. The brain, when receiving praise, releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter activated in pleasurable situations, such as eating chocolate or listening to music you love. It's chemistry. It's biological. That's why so many people get stuck in this cycle of living in order to be seen, noticed, approved. The problem is when this becomes the only fuel for your identity. According to a survey conducted by University of Michigan in 2021, people who base their self-esteem mainly on social acceptance present 63% higher rates of emotional instability when compared to those that build their value based on internal principles. In other words, depending on other people's opinions is dangerous. You lived it. You may not have noticed right away, but you were constantly adjusting your posture, your tone of voice, your decisions, everything to please or impress. And even then, peace never came. Why? Because no matter how hard you try, those who only validate you when it's convenient for them will never see who you really are. This is where true liberation begins. You realize that you need to stop measuring your worth by likes, messages, invitations, compliments, or applause, and start looking inside. You start to remember who you are when no one is watching, and this silent version, the one that survives without witnesses, is the most authentic. Self-worth does not come from empty motivational speeches. It is born when you learn to accept yourself even when you are silent, alone, without an audience. When you choose to stand firm on your principles, even if it costs you the approval of those you most wanted to impress. That's strength. This is emotional maturity. Self-worth is praising yourself when no one else notices your effort. It's celebrating small victories instead of waiting for someone to recognize them. It's about not diminishing yourself in the face of rejection. It's knowing that the other person has the right not to like it, but that it doesn't diminish you at all. You begin to understand that the world is full of filters, and that many people only see others based on their own wounds. So if someone sees you as arrogant, distant, or difficult, they may just be projecting their insecurity. You are not the reflection of the lens that others use. Your truth doesn't need an audience. External validation is volatile. It changes according to mood, convenience, interest. Today they applaud you, tomorrow they ignore you. It's unstable. Therefore, you cannot base your personal construction on something that changes all the time. Self-worth, on the other hand, is firm. It comes from internal clarity, from coherence between what you think, feel, and do. It does not depend on numbers or public approval. It comes from knowing how much it took to get here. And this knowledge is too sacred to be measured by palms. Yes, it will still hurt when someone doesn't recognize your value. You are human. But the difference is that now you no longer abandon yourself for it. You don't beg, you don't force, you don't try to convince anyone that they deserve love. You know. And who knows, don't beg. As Carl Jung said in 1957, what you think about yourself is much more important than what others think about you. This phrase, although said more than half a century ago, is still relevant. Because human beings continue to forget where their true strength comes from. And now you remember. From now on, you no longer wait for approval. You offer yourself the affection, care, and respect you expected from others. You recognize your own path, honor your story, and she understands that she doesn't need to be applauded to be right. You no longer live to impress. You live to express. And that changes everything. Share this knowledge with the world. Together we can spread this message and help more people become free. Subscribe to the channel and send this video to anyone who needs to hear this truth. Not everyone deserves your light. Not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. And not everyone who is offended by your limit is loving you. They are actually losing the control they thought they had. For a long time, you believed it was your obligation to always be available, answering calls out of turn, solving problems that weren't yours, giving up space even when you were exhausted. And all this for one reason, fear of being seen as selfish. But over time, you discovered the uncomfortable truth. The more you give yourself without criteria, the more you are drained. The energy you carry is precious. It is made of time, attention, care, presence. And contrary to what many think, she is not infinite. You give of yourself, and that is beautiful. But now you understand that you need to consciously select who really deserves to receive part of you. According to a study published in 2020 by Brazilian Association of Relational Psychology, around 68% of people who feel emotionally exhausted point to excessive one-sided relationships as the main cause of psychological exhaustion. This means that often it's not work, routine, or the world that is draining you. It's the connections that you insist on maintaining without reciprocity. It's important to understand this. Your well-being directly depends on your ability to filter, to protect your vibration, to establish healthy barriers, not out of coldness but out of maturity. You can no longer allow anyone to enter your emotional field. Some people don't come to add, they come to explore. They come with a smile on their lips, but with silent intentions to manipulate, control, suck. They don't want connection. They want unlimited access to your heart. And the problem? It's just that you were leaving. But now you know. Access is a privilege, not an obligation. It's not about being rude. It's about being judicious. After all, you don't leave your home door open to just anyone, right? Why would you do this to your mind, to your peace, to your spirit? You need to understand that your energy is not just a resource. It's your living space. It's the fuel that drives everything you do. And when it is poorly distributed, you start to feel dull, tired, absent from yourself. There is a common mistake that many people make, thinking that they need to maintain all relationships to appear good. The truth is that continuing in exhausting connections just because it's right, it's not kindness. It's self-sabotage. Cutting ties that make you sick is not cruelty, it is courage. And yes, it will hurt, because not every breakup comes with heartache. Sometimes parting happens in silence, with a calm but firm heart. You just understand that you can't do it anymore. And it follows. No explanations needed. No need for drama. This emotional maturity is rare. And because it's rare, it's uncomfortable. People who are used to having unrestricted access to you will get irritated. They will say that you have changed, that you are distant, that you have moved away. But the truth is that you just stopped accepting less than you deserve. Have you ever noticed how certain cycles repeat themselves? There is always someone who shows up only when needed. That disappears when you need it, who praises you to get something and then disappears. These people are neither friends nor partners nor trustworthy. They are opportunists disguised as ties. That's why you now learn to observe more than listen. Words are easy. Actions reveal intentions. And you are more attentive than ever. This new stance you adopted is not closure. It is selection. It's a filter that says, I don't deny affection, but I don't give it without criteria. And this scares those who feed on its availability. You understand that being too accessible is allowing someone to abuse your affection. Let them confuse your empathy with weakness. But now, that has changed. Because you know there's a huge difference between being generous and being exploited. Today you clearly decide where your energy will be invested. And this decision changes everything. You spent too much time trying to save those who didn't want to be saved. Trying to please those who never stayed. Trying to justify your absence to people who never really asked how you were. But that phase is over. Now your time is too valuable to waste. Your space is too sacred to be invaded. Your soul is too strong to be molded by convenience. You don't close doors out of arrogance, you close them because you learn to love yourself. And those who love themselves do not offer themselves whole to those who only give halves. And yes, they will talk. They will criticize. They'll say you're different, and they will be right. You are, in fact, different. More centered, more lucid, more selective. And that, for many people, is a problem. But for you, it is liberation. Because now, finally, you have learned to distinguish between those who walk beside you and those who just take advantage of your path. To not miss any message from God, click the subscribe button. Write "I'm ready" in the comments and start aligning your energy with the transformation that is coming. You are no longer the same, and that is a sign of rebirth. Some changes don't make any noise. They do not arrive with fireworks nor with advertisements on social media. They happen on a Sunday night, in the silence of your room, while you realize that you no longer recognize the woman you were. And that, far from being a problem, is a rebirth. There is a rare moment in life when the soul decides it can no longer do. That the old version, full of camouflaged wounds, forced smiles, and blind acceptance, can no longer continue. It is at that moment that everything begins to reorganize within you. Not because you want to change, but because life demands it. Personal rebirth is neither beautiful nor easy. It doesn't come with ready-made mantras or canned motivational phrases. It comes with breakups, losses, longing, emptiness. It comes with disconnecting from what was comfortable, but kept you stagnant. It comes with suppressed crying in the middle of the afternoon, and a strange feeling of not knowing who you are anymore. But this confusion, this transition, this discomfort, these are signs that something much bigger is being born. It's your spirit reorganizing itself. Spirituality is not about burning candles or beautiful words. It's about awakening. That's when you start to see the hidden connections between what you lived and who you became. That's when you realize that the pains were steps, not punishments, and that each fall had a purpose, to push you into yourself. According to 2023 data published by Harvard Medical School, spiritual practices linked to self-knowledge, such as meditation, intentional silence, and breaking destructive habits, increase the feeling of existential clarity by up to 40% in people who have faced difficult transitions. This means that inner chaos is not the end. It is the prelude to a new consciousness, and that's what's happening to you now. You are no longer interested in belonging anywhere. She no longer wants to be accepted at any cost. She realized that much of what she did was a desperate attempt to be validated by people who didn't even know her depth. Now, everything has changed. You get up with another posture. It carries another vibration. Its presence, previously silent due to insecurity, now silences environments due to its presence. And no, that's not arrogance. This is alignment with your own energy. Before, you needed company to feel alive. Today, your solitude is a source of strength. Before, external noise dictated your mood. Now your center is internal, unshakable. What once destabilized you, today barely scratches the surface of your peace. Of course, not everyone will understand. Its growth will alienate those who are used to its old version. It will bother those who feed on your fragility. But you owe no more explanations. Your path is now upward, not backward. And this process requires faith. Not faith in the religious sense, but faith in yourself, faith in the invisible, faith in time. Because you understood that each difficult phase had a function, that what seemed like delay was preparation, that each person who left made room for someone more aligned with their new journey. This is real spirituality. It's seeing purpose in what previously seemed like gratuitous pain. You are flourishing, even if you are still surrounded by land. And that, in itself, is already a miracle. You know that feeling of not fitting in the same places anymore? Not being able to talk to the same people anymore? Feeling like everything has lost its old taste? This is a sign of transition. The new has not yet fully arrived, but the old is no longer useful. This space between what was and what will be is where the soul expands. It is on this unstable ground that you begin to build a new version of yourself. More whole, more attentive, more true. And yes, there will still be difficult days. There will still be memories that hurt, people you wanted to keep but had to let go. But that's all part of it. Rebirth is a solitary process. But after that comes realignment. You will find yourself again with who you are. You will hear yourself more clearly. You will act more truthfully. And you will feel a peace that does not come from circumstances, but from the certainty of being where you need to be, within yourself. The woman who is emerging now is the result of all the falls, all the healings, all the silences. She carries scars that she is not ashamed to show. She doesn't live to please, she lives to exist with meaning. She does not seek to fulfill expectations, but rather to follow her deepest truth. And if anyone asks what happened to you, the answer is simple. I was reborn, and this time it was for me. If you feel this calling within you, subscribe to the channel and write "I am chosen" in the comments. Declare that you are ready to receive what is already in store for you. Now, it's you for you, and that's enough. The moment no one expected came. You stopped asking for permission. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a magical snap. It was little by little. A decision here, a cut there, a no that previously didn't come out of the mouth and suddenly became a common phrase. You learned. You learned that if you didn't put an end to the cycle, it would continue to swallow you in silence. You're tired. And tiredness is also an answer. I got tired of acting like a ladder for those who only knew how to climb by stepping, to explain what was obvious, to give a second chance to those who didn't even deserve the first, of swallowing frogs and pretending it was a choice. And when that happens, something inside us changes. We stop wanting to understand everything and start cutting out what sucks. You stop chasing, trying to maintain relationships that only existed because you carried them on your back, replying to messages that only came when the other person needed it, to continue insisting in places where it was only tolerated, never truly welcomed. People started saying you've gone cold. That was distant, that has changed, and they are right. You really became distant from everything that wasn't good for you. You noticed that the more you tried to please, the more you were disrespected. And you understand, people who truly love you don't need to be convinced every day. It does not require continuous sacrifice. It does not transform your existence into proof of merit. It's freeing to stop trying to be who people expect you to be, because this expectation is a trap. They expect you to smile even when you are exhausted, that he accepts even a wound, may it be available even if it is destroyed inside. But now, not anymore. You learned that your peace is not a bargaining chip, that your energy has too much value to be thrown anywhere, that your presence is a privilege, not a favor, that your absence also speaks, and speak loudly. Today you think twice before donating, analyze before making space, observe before trusting, and that's not mistrust, it's wisdom. Along the way, you lost people. Some left in silence, others knocked on the door. Some blamed you, others disappeared, but none of them were good for you. Deep down, they were bonds sustained by the fear of loneliness, not out of true love. You cried too. He questioned, doubted. She felt alone, but it passed. Because what remains after the cut is strength, its clarity, its lightness, And now, nothing holds you back. Nothing holds you back. Nothing paralyzes you like it used to. You stopped living in the expectation of being understood. He stopped translating his pain to those who never wanted to hear it, of dramatizing your absence to keep people present out of obligation. Now, whoever wants to stay will have to come in one piece. No games, no demands disguised as care. You learned that being alone is not failure. It's a filter. That chosen solitude is healing. Too much noise is not synonymous with happiness. That presence is not always company. And that empty people only know how to fill their time, never their soul. Today, you no longer need to prove anything. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to let us know that it's different. You are. And that's enough. The version that is standing now is firmer, more realistic, less anxious, more centered. Someone who rebuilt himself from his own pieces, who stopped waiting for rescue and decided to save himself. You no longer want to please. You want to breathe. He no longer wants to maintain, he wants to belong. He doesn't want to pretend anymore, he wants to feel. And you want to feel peace. What was left behind? It was left. Who didn't know how to value it? Let it continue. What didn't feed you? It was discarded. No longing. No return. You now walk lightly. Not because nothing weighs, but because it only carries the essentials. Your clear conscience, your emotional freedom, and your armored self-love. And perhaps not everyone understands this new phase. But who needs to understand? You understood. And that's all. The time for pleasing is over. Now, it's about preserving. And in this new chapter, you choose who you will walk with, who deserves to stay, who still has access. Because finally, you understand what has always been true. Anyone who doesn't respect your limits doesn't deserve your presence. The awakening continues. If this video opened your eyes to truths you had never seen before, imagine what else you can discover. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content that will transform your life.